For months after the tragic shooting of Lil Jeff, speculation swelled regarding who may be responsible for his death. Finally, the police seemed to have a break in the case, arresting Trap City Rob and booking him for the crime. However, it didn't stop with Trap City Rob's arrest. What happened next may just be the catalyst that ignites one of the most bloody gang wars in the history of Chicago. Let's take a deep dive into the aftermath of Trap City Rob's arrest and what it means for the Chicago gang scene. Lil Jeff's killer protected by the gang. The circumstances surrounding Lil Jeff's murder are as chilling as they are tragic, set against the backdrop of Chicago's relentless gang warfare. On a seemingly ordinary day, Lil Jeff found himself caught in the crosshairs of a violent drill, a term used to describe a premeditated gang attack. This drill was orchestrated by rival gang members. Video footage from that fateful day reveals the harrowing moments leading up to Lil Jeff's death. The alleged shooter, Trap City Rob, was a known figure in the rival gang. His involvement in the drill was no coincidence, as tensions between the gangs had been escalating. As shots rang out, chaos ensued. Lil Jeff chased a rival as he had the upper hand on the offensive. His opponent ran into a house. Instead of backing down, Lil Jeff followed his opponent to the house and was gunned down by someone else who came out of the house. This person was allegedly Trap City Rob. In the wake of Lil Jeff's murder, the arrest of Trap City Rob, also known as Robert Coleman, seemed like a step towards justice. Coleman, a notorious figure within the rival gang, was apprehended shortly after the incident, his name already synonymous with violence and intimidation. The community hoped that this arrest would bring some semblance of closure and accountability. However, the legal proceedings that followed were fraught with complications. Despite the gravity of the allegations against Coleman, the case quickly unraveled due to a lack of concrete evidence. The video footage, while capturing the chaos of the drill, failed to definitively place Coleman at the scene as the shooter. Witnesses, often intimidated by the potential repercussions of testifying against gang members, were reluctant to come forward, further weakening the prosecution's case. As the investigation stalled, the decision was made to release Coleman. The release highlighted the pervasive issue of gang protection, where members shield each other from legal consequences, complicating the pursuit of justice. The release of Trap City Rob, despite the serious allegations against him, shines a light on the intricate network of protection that exists within gang culture. In Chicago, as in many other cities plagued by gang violence, loyalty and allegiance to one's gang often supersede all else. Gang members are known to protect each other fiercely, employing a range of tactics to evade law enforcement and shield their own from prosecution. This protection can manifest in various forms, from intimidating potential witnesses to providing alibis and even tampering with evidence. The fear of retaliation is a powerful deterrent for those who might otherwise come forward with information, creating an environment where silence is often the safest option. The tragic death of Lil Jeff is a reminder of the broader epidemic of gang violence that has long plagued Chicago. This city, with its rich cultural tapestry and vibrant music scene, is also a battleground where young lives are frequently cut short by the relentless cycle of gang warfare. The local rap scene, a powerful outlet for expression and storytelling, has been particularly affected, with numerous artists falling victim to the violence that permeates their communities. Chicago's rap scene has produced some of the most influential voices in hip-hop, artists who use their music to reflect the harsh realities of their environment. However, this authenticity often comes at a high price. The stories of King Von, FBG Duck, and Lil Jojo, all talented rappers who met untimely deaths due to gang violence, echo the tragic narrative of Lil Jeff. Let's recap some of their stories. Young Davon Daquan Bennett, better known as King Von, grew up surrounded by violence, poverty, and hardship. Von's life was forever changed when his father was murdered when he was just 11 years old. This traumatic event would later shape his music and worldview. Despite the odds against him, King Von found solace in hip-hop, particularly in the drill music genre that was taking Chicago by storm. After serving time in jail, Von was released in December 2017 and began to pursue music seriously. He signed with Lil Durk's record label, Only the Family, and released his debut single, Beat Dat Body, in June 2018. However, it was his breakthrough single, Crazy Story, that dropped in December 2018, which truly put King Von on the map. The song's vivid storytelling and Von's unique blend of humor and vulnerability resonated with listeners, peaking at number 81 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. Over the next 2 years, King Von released a string of successful projects, including Grandson, Vol. 1 2019, LeVon James 2020, and Welcome to O'Block 2020. His music often reflected his harsh realities, from growing up in poverty to his experiences with violence and incarceration. Tragically, King Von's life was cut short on November 6, 2020, when he was shot and killed in Atlanta, Georgia, at the age of 26. He was yet again another young victim of gang violence, just like FBG Duck. Carlton Weekly, better known as FBG Duck, grew up surrounded by violence, poverty, and hardship. Despite the odds against him, Duck found solace in hip-hop, particularly in the drill music genre that was taking Chicago by storm. With his raw, gritty lyrics lyrics and distinctive delivery, FBG Duck quickly gained recognition in the Chicago drill scene. His music was a reflection of his experiences growing up in the city's toughest neighborhoods, where street life and violence were an ever-present reality. As Duck's popularity grew, so did his influence. He became a prominent figure in the Flyboy Gang, FBG faction, a group of young rappers and musicians who were making waves in the Chicago music scene. Tragedy struck on August 4th, 2020, when FBG Duck was shot and killed in Chicago's Gold Coast neighborhood. He was just 26 years old. FBG Duck's murder was part of a larger wave of violence that swept through Chicago in 2020, with many young rappers and musicians falling victim to gun violence just like Lil Jojo. Lil Jojo's music was a reflection of his experiences growing up in Inglewood. His songs were raw, gritty, and unapologetic, painting a vivid picture of life in one of Chicago's toughest neighborhoods. His distinctive delivery and charismatic flow quickly gained him a following in the Chicago drill scene. As Lil Jojo's popularity grew, so did his influence. He became a leader among his peers, and his music inspired a generation of young rappers. But with fame came danger. Lil Jojo was caught up in a long-standing feud between his crew, the Brick Squad, and a rival gang. Things took an unfortunate turn on September 4th, 2012, when Lil Jojo was shot and killed in his own neighborhood. He was just 18 years old. In the years following his death, Lil Jojo's music has gained a new level of popularity, with many of his songs being streamed millions of times on platforms like YouTube and Spotify. His influence can be heard in the music of many young artists who followed in his footsteps, and his legacy continues to be celebrated by fans of Chicago drill and hip-hop. Each of these artists carried the potential to transcend their circumstances, yet their lives were abruptly ended by the very forces they sought to escape through music. The impact of gang violence on the rap community extends beyond the loss of individual artists. It creates an atmosphere of fear and tension, where the lines between artistic rivalry and real-life conflict are often blurred. Lil Jeff's untimely death has opened a can of worms about his past and the dark underbelly of Chicago gang life. Why was Lil Jeff killed in Trap City's hood? Trap City's territory, or hood, is a notorious area in Chicago known for its relentless gang activity and history of violence. This neighborhood has long been a battleground for rival gangs, each vying for control and dominance over the lucrative drug trade and territory. This territory is marked by a legacy of bloodshed, where gunfire is a common sound, and danger lurks around every corner. In the weeks leading up to the fateful drill in Trap City's hood, the air was thick with tension. The neighborhood was a powder keg ready to explode, with rival gangs on high alert and the community caught in the crossfire. The escalating violence and mounting pressure were obvious, as rumors of impending conflict spread like wildfire through the streets. Lil Jeff, at the center of this storm, was acutely aware of the threats against him. His recent actions had intensified the animosity between his crew and their rivals, creating an atmosphere of fear and anticipation. The neighborhood was rife with whispers of retaliation, and the sense of unease was impossible to ignore. As the day of the drill approached, the streets were quiet, as if holding their breath in anticipation of the violence to come. Lil Jeff, undeterred by the danger, prepared for the confrontation with the same confidence and bravado that had defined his rise within the gang hierarchy. He knew that his presence at the drill would be seen as a challenge, a direct provocation to his enemies. As the drill commenced, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. Gang members, armed and ready, took their positions, eyes scanning the surroundings for any sign of trouble. The drill was meant to be a show of strength, but it quickly spiraled into chaos as gunfire erupted, shattering the fragile silence. The bloody shootout that led to the death of Lil Jeff was one incident in a long list of violent events in the young man's life. Lil Jeff's began with petty crimes, such as theft and vandalism, which were seen as rites of passage within the gang. These early experiences not only hardened him, but also taught him the unwritten rules of the street. As he gained notoriety within the gang, Lil Jeff's role evolved, and he became known for his fearlessness and willingness to take on risky tasks. This reputation quickly spread, earning him respect among his peers and making him a target for rival gangs. Despite the dangers that came with his lifestyle, Lil Jeff found solace in music. He began writing lyrics that reflected his experiences and the harsh realities of his environment. Music became an outlet for him, a way to express his frustrations and aspirations. It was during this time that he adopted the moniker Lil Jeff, a name that would soon become synonymous with both his musical talent and his criminal exploits. As Lil Jeff navigated the treacherous waters of gang life, his reputation for fearlessness and cunning continued to grow. By his late teens, he had ascended the ranks within his gang, becoming a key player in their operations. This rise in the hierarchy was marked by a series of increasingly bold and dangerous criminal activities that solidified his status as a formidable figure on the streets. These ventures not only brought him financial gain, but also increased his influence within the gang. His ability to strategize and execute complex operations earned him the trust of his superiors and the loyalty of his peers. During this period, Lil Jeff's criminal activities took on a more violent nature. Allegations surfaced that he was involved in several violent confrontations with rival gangs. These confrontations often resulted in casualties, and while concrete evidence was scarce, the whispers of his involvement spread like wildfire through the community. As he honed his craft, Lil Jeff began performing at local venues, where his unique style and authentic storytelling quickly caught the attention of audiences. His music was a reflection of his life on the streets, filled with vivid imagery and a gritty realism that set him apart from other artists. This authenticity became his trademark, drawing in listeners who were captivated by his ability to convey the complexities of his world through his lyrics. As Lil Jeff's fame continued to rise, so did the scrutiny from law enforcement. His past affiliations and the notoriety that came with his music drew the attention of authorities who were keen to understand his criminal activities. This increased focus led to a series of legal challenges that would test Lil Jeff's resolve and impact his burgeoning career. One of the primary issues Lil Jeff faced was the ongoing investigations into his alleged involvement in gang activities. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, law enforcement agencies were determined to connect him to various incidents, using his lyrics and public persona as a basis for their inquiries. This scrutiny often resulted in frequent encounters with the police, ranging from questioning to more formal legal proceedings. The pressure from these legal challenges was compounded by the media's portrayal of Lil Jeff as a controversial figure. Headlines often sensationalized his past, painting him as a symbol of the intersection between music and crime. This narrative not only affected his public image, but also influenced the perception of his music, with some critics questioning the authenticity of his artistry. In response to these challenges, Lil Jeff sought legal counsel to navigate the complexities of his situation. His legal team worked diligently to protect his rights and manage the fallout from the ongoing investigations. Despite the obstacles, Lil Jeff remained focused on his music, using it as a platform to address the issues he faced and to assert his identity beyond the confines of the legal system. Things took a dark turn when he was allegedly involved in the killing of 11 rival gang members, including Monty and Lil Rob. This information was provided by a person close to Lil Jeff and his team. Although these hit specifics are still unknown, they reminded people of the deaths of Monty and Lil Rob, who Lil Jeff claimed responsibility for a few months prior to his own death. Members of rival gangs Monty and Lil Rob were shot dead in a way that was consistent with a targeted attack. Both law enforcement and the media were drawn to these deaths because of their heinousness. In these circumstances, Lil Jeff immediately gained attention, with many citing his music videos and lyrics as possible admissions of his involvement. Lil Jeff allegedly made references to these killings in his song, incorporating specifics of the crimes into his lines. Many people assumed that he was not just involved, but also gloating about his activities through his music because of the terrifying precision of his depictions. The distinction between artistic expression and actual occurrences was further blurred by a video that showed him and his gang members wearing the same clothes and driving the same car that were connected to the crime scenes. Months after the killings, someone else was charged with the killings in spite of the growing evidence and public conjecture. But Lil Jeff's infamous reputation was further cemented by the lingering shadow of these accusations. Unfortunately, claiming responsibility for the killings may have been the start of a chain reaction that eventually led to his brutal murder. Lil Jeff's personal life was as complex and multifaceted as his career. Despite the challenges he faced, he was surrounded by a network of individuals who played significant roles in shaping his journey. These relationships provided him with both support and inspiration, influencing his music and personal growth. One of the most influential figures in Lil Jeff's life was his mother. As a single parent, she worked tirelessly to provide for her family, instilling in him the values of perseverance and resilience. In addition to his mother, Lil Jeff was deeply connected to his community. Friends and fellow artists from his neighborhood played pivotal roles in his development as a musician. They provided him with a sense of belonging and camaraderie, encouraging him to pursue his passion for music. These relationships were instrumental in helping him hone his craft and find his voice as an artist. Mentorship also played a crucial role in Lil Jeff's life. Established artists and producers who recognized his talent offered guidance and opportunities that helped him advance his career. These mentors provided valuable insights into the music industry, helping him navigate the challenges of fame and artistic expression. Their support was instrumental in his growth as an artist and in expanding his reach beyond his local community. Critics often lauded Lil Jeff for his ability to capture the essence of street life in his lyrics. His songs were praised for their honesty and the way they conveyed the struggles and triumphs of his community. This authenticity resonated with listeners who appreciated his unfiltered approach to storytelling. Many saw him as a voice for the marginalized, using his platform to shed light on issues often overlooked by mainstream media. Lil Jeff's music music also received recognition for its artistic merit. His unique style and lyrical prowess earned him accolades within the industry, leading to collaborations with established artists and producers. These partnerships not only elevated his profile, but also showcased his versatility as an artist. His ability to blend different musical influences and genres further cemented his reputation as a talented and innovative musician. Unfortunately, his affiliation with the Gangster Disciple Nation eventually cost him his life. While the Gangster Disciple Nation is one of the largest criminal organizations in the country, it isn't the only one plaguing Chicago. Gang violence on the rise in Chicago. The roots of gang formation in Chicago stretch back to the early 20th century, a time when waves of immigrants arrived in the city seeking better opportunities. These newcomers, often facing discrimination and economic hardship, formed tight-knit communities for mutual support and protection. It was within these enclaves that the seeds of gang culture were sown. Initially, these groups were organized around ethnic lines, with Irish, Italian, and Polish gangs emerging as dominant forces in their respective neighborhoods. As the decades passed, the landscape of Chicago's gangs evolved. The Great Migration saw a significant influx of African Americans from the southern United States, leading to the formation of new gangs as these communities sought to establish their presence in the city. By the 1960s and 1970s, the nature of gang activity began to shift. Gangs like the Black P. Stones and the Vice Lords emerged, focusing on both criminal enterprises and social activism. However, internal conflicts and external pressures soon led to a more violent and criminally oriented focus. The 1980s and 1990s marked a turning point as the crack cocaine epidemic swept through urban centers, including Chicago. Gangs capitalized on the lucrative drug trade, leading to increased violence as they fought for control over territories and distribution networks. The introduction of firearms into these conflicts only exacerbated the situation, resulting in a dramatic rise in homicides and violent crime. The current state of gang violence in Chicago is a grim reflection of the city's ongoing struggle with organized crime. With an estimated 150,000 gang-affiliated individuals, Chicago stands as the most gang-occupied city in the United States. This staggering number is spread across more than 100 distinct gangs, each vying for control over territories and illicit markets. The result is a volatile environment where violence is a constant threat. Recent statistics paint a troubling picture. In the past few years, Chicago has witnessed a significant increase in homicides and shootings, many of which are attributed to gang-related activities. In 2020, the city recorded over 700 homicides, a sharp rise from previous years. The majority of these incidents are concentrated in neighborhoods with high gang activity, where turf wars and retaliatory violence are common occurrences. One of the most alarming trends is the involvement of younger individuals in gang activities. Reports indicate that teenagers and even children are being recruited into gangs, lured by promises of protection, money, and a sense of belonging. This trend not only perpetuates the cycle of violence, but also poses a significant challenge for law enforcement and community organizations working to curb gang influence. The proliferation of firearms has made the situation fast. Chicago's gangs have access to a steady supply of illegal weapons, contributing to the city's high rates of gun violence. The combination of heavily armed gangs in densely populated urban areas creates a deadly mix, with innocent bystanders often caught in the crossfire. The impact of gang violence on Chicago's communities is profound and far-reaching, affecting every aspect of daily life. Local businesses, often seen as the lifeblood of neighborhoods, are among the hardest hit. The constant threat of violence deters customers and investors, leading to economic stagnation and decline. Business owners face extortion and intimidation from gangs, forcing some to close their doors permanently. This economic downturn further worsens unemployment and poverty, creating a vicious cycle that fuels gang recruitment. Schools, meant to be safe havens for learning and growth, are not immune to the effects of gang violence. Students in gang-affected areas often face daily threats and intimidation, both inside and outside the classroom. The presence of gangs in schools disrupts the educational environment, leading to increased absenteeism and dropout rates. Teachers and staff, too, are caught in the crossfire, struggling to maintain order and provide a quality education amidst the chaos. Families bear the brunt of the emotional and psychological toll of gang violence. The loss of a loved one to gang-related violence leaves a lasting scar, with grief and trauma rippling through entire communities. Parents live in constant fear for their children's safety, while young people face immense pressure to join gangs as a means of survival. The breakdown of family structures and support systems further isolates individuals, making it difficult to escape the cycle of violence. The social fabric of communities is also strained as trust and cohesion erode erode under the weight of fear and suspicion. Neighbors become wary of one another, and community events and gatherings dwindle, leaving residents feeling isolated and vulnerable. The pervasive sense of insecurity stifles community development and engagement, hindering efforts to create positive change. Despite these challenges, many communities are resilient, banding together to combat the effects of gang violence. Grassroots organizations and local leaders work tirelessly to provide support and resources, fostering a sense of hope and empowerment. At the forefront of Chicago's gang landscape are the Gangster Disciples. Founded in the late 1960s by Larry Hoover, the GDs are known for their structured organization, which mirrors a corporate hierarchy. This level of organization has allowed them to maintain a strong presence in Chicago's South Side, engaging in various criminal activities including drug trafficking and extortion. Their involvement in turf wars with rival gangs has contributed to the city's high levels of violence. They are followed closely by the Black Disciples. The Black Disciples, BDs, founded in 1958 by David Barksdale, are another dominant force in Chicago's gang scene. With a history marked by violence, the BDs have been involved in numerous high-profile crimes, including the infamous murder of 11-year-old Robert Yummy Sandifer. This incident, which shocked the nation, highlighted the brutal reality of gang life in Chicago. The BDs continue to exert significant influence, particularly in the city's South Side neighborhoods. The Latin Kings, a Hispanic street G-Yang with roots dating back to the 1950s, have established a formidable presence in Chicago. Known for their involvement in drug trafficking, violent crime, and extortion, the Latin Kings are one of the largest and most powerful Hispanic gangs in the United States. Their structured hierarchy and code of conduct, outlined in their King Manifesto, demonstrate a level of organization that has contributed to their enduring influence. The Black P-Stones, BPS, another significant player in Chicago's gang landscape, have a history marked by violence and drug trafficking. With an estimated 100,000 members, the BPS are one of the largest gangs in Chicago, exerting influence across various neighborhoods. Their involvement in violent crimes has contributed to the city's challenging crime statistics. Distinct from the street gangs mentioned above, the Chicago Outfit, also known simply as the Outfit, represents a different facet of organized crime in Chicago. With roots tracing back to the early 20th century, the Outfit has been involved in a wide range of criminal activities, including extortion, loan sharking, and murder. Unlike the street gangs, the Outfit operates more covertly, with less visible turf wars but equally significant influence in the city's underworld. Thanks for watching. Check out the other cards on the screen.